Hey everyone, Casey Scanlon here. We're going to give you a quick fishing report for Lake of the Ozarks. It's February 22nd and the water temperature is 39 to 42 degrees. So it's cold out here. Got some big tournaments coming up here at the lake. It's going to be busy throughout the month of March. And the water level right now is 655. Just called the report and it looks like they're going to be dropping that down a little bit this week. So we've got some current generation the next few days, and they're going to slowly bring this down to winter pool, probably 654 or lower water levels. So you got to be careful at all the boat ramps right now. It's hard to get in at some of the smaller boat ramps. So these bigger public facilities are going to be where you want to launch your bass boat for the most part because the water is shallow right now. So we got a couple of bites going on. You know, it's the middle of winter. These fish are trying to get ready for the spawn, and they're a little lethargic right now. Like I said, we got water temps anywhere from 39 to 42, 43 degrees. If you go up in some of these creeks and river arms on a good warm sunny day, they might warm up a little bit on you, but we've got some weather coming in. So, the water temperature is going to fluctuate a lot over the next month or two, just depending on how much sunlight we get, where that wind's blowing, and some of these cold nights that we're going to get here in the next few days are really going to knock that temperature back. So fishing has been a little bit up and down for me. We've had some good weights all winter in a lot of the tournaments around here. Guys have been catching some big stringers of fish, whether that's A-rig, jerkbait, jig, or a crankbait. Those are the four baits that you're pretty much going to want to have on your deck this time of year. So we'll go through some of that and some of the places that we're throwing them and see if we can't help you guys catch some fish. So the first bait I got here, I don't know if you want to call it a bait or a rig, is the Alabama rig. So got some 3.5 inch Tackle HD swimmers on here. Super durable swim bait. It's what I love to throw on my Alabama rig. Has really good action to it. So basically, I got two dummy baits right here, and I've got three baits with hooks on them. We're using anywhere from a quarter ounce to an eighth ounce on the jig heads there. You got three jig heads. So with the water level being low, you don't need to go above a quarter ounce. It's probably just gonna stay hung up for you. So this is a good bait for covering water. It's not something we're allowed to throw at our tour events, but you can throw it in a lot of the local events here, and it definitely produces a lot of fish in the winter time. So pretty much the only time I throw this thing is when I'm here at home and we're fishing in some of these local tournaments. So great bait to cover some water in a time of year where really you got to go slow to kind of catch these fish. So the depth of this depends on kind of where you're fishing and really the day. A lot of the time I'm using my Garmin Live Scope to try to pinpoint these fish where they're sitting at, and I'll actually just keep throwing this thing in front of their face and try to get a reaction out of them. So this is going to be a top producer this month. Check out these Tackle HD swim baits. They're super durable, and they really catch a lot of fish, and you're not going to go through a ton of baits. So you're going to have a lot of baits for this rig right here. But anyways, got this on a 7'6" heavy action Mayaka rod from 6 Gill. You want this on a pretty big rod. I've got it on a 3-to-1 Wraith 6 Gill reel. So you want to slow reel, just like a spinner bait or something like that, because you're going to really be slow rolling this thing through the water column. You want to keep it down a little bit. So I like that 6 3-to-1. You could even go to a 5-4 or something like that if you really wanted to. But 6 3-to-1 gear ratio is really going to help you keep that bait down in the water column and get you some more bites. But remember, have a big rod for this because that bait is heavy and it will give you a workout. So the main player right now for me is the jerkbait. This is a Tackle HD Fiddlesticks jerkbait. This is gonna work all the way up until they spawn. This is one of my favorite lures to throw. And it's really windy out here right now. I don't know if you can tell in the shop, but this Tackle HD swim bait right here throws really good in the wind. Jerkbait. This is the Magnum jerkbait right here. A little bit bigger than your standard model. So this is the Tackle HD Fiddlesticks. Let's see if you can get a good look at that and the size comparison there. So a little bit bigger profile. I've been throwing the Magnum Fiddlesticks around quite a bit lately. Been getting a little bit bigger bites on it. Throws great in the wind. Both of these baits throw really good in the wind, which we've had a lot of it lately, and we're gonna get some more with all these fronts coming through. But color-wise, I like to keep it pretty simple. The water's really, really clear right now. It's getting a little bit more stained up because they're running a lot of water through the dam, and it's kind of putting some color in the water. We've also got some runoff from some of this snow and rain we've been getting, and we'll probably get a lot more of that as the spring goes on. So, you're gonna wanna choose your baits accordingly. Right now, clear water, we're going with stuff like this table rock shad. This is a real, good looking bait. They like that purple, so this is a real good producer. Whether you're here, table rock, any clear water situation, that table rock shad gets a lot of bites. So I've been throwing the Magnum in that. This white or bone is always a producer. No matter the water clarity, if it's dirty, it's stained, it's clear, this is always one I have on my deck, so always a great option. You can see that these are loud jerkbait, got a good rattle to them, and it's a lot to do with that weight transfer system. But a clear water situation, I'm gonna reach for baits like this fiddlestick right here, which is the Pro Blue. You can see it's kind of translucent in color, real natural looking. That's what you're gonna wanna throw, as this water is clear. When it gets a little bit dingier, you're gonna pick up your chartreuses, your clown type colors, something with a little bit more flash, something with some gold in it. This color right here got a lot of chartreuse, something that they can pick up, something that stands out in the water column. You're gonna get a lot of bites on. So with this bait right here, I'm just jerking it down to depth, which is gonna be that 4 to 7 foot range. So I'm just bringing it down to that range, looking at it on my Garmin live scope, and trying to put it in front of these fish's face or around a piece of cover, wherever these fish are sitting at. So a lot of times this time of year, these fish are gonna be situated around deeper banks, brush piles, places they don't have to move very far to get into greater depth of water. Because like we said, right now, they're drawing water out of this lake. The lake is getting shallower. We had, pretty full pool for summer, I would say, all winter. The water was up fairly high. We didn't get that early winter drawdown like we see some years. So, we've had a lot of cover in the water lately until now. So they're sucking the bottom out of the lake, and these fish want somewhere, their metabolism's slow, it's wintertime. They want somewhere where they don't have to move very far and expend a ton of energy. So they want deep water close by. So channel banks are a good place to look. Brush piles situated next to deep water are a good place to look. Anywhere the wind's blowing is a great place to look. Points, right now they're drawing water, so a lot of these fish are going to try to set up around some of these points, at least temporarily, while the water's moving, and try to get on a feeding bite there. So there's a lot of stuff in play. The lake's kind of spread out right now. Now the fish are going to start kind of condensing as this water temperature is cold, and they're drawing the lake down. They're going to kind of start grouping up a little bit better. But right now, for me, and the last few weeks, they've been scattered out. You might catch one in the back of a creek. You might catch one on a main lake point. So you really just got to kind of hunt and peck around until you run into some. And once you get a couple bites, it seems like you can get multiple bites in those areas. But like I said, jerkbait's my major producer right now this time of year. I keep it in my hand a lot. And this Tackle HD Fiddlesticks is a really good one. Throwing that on a 6.6 medium action Hemdahl jerkbait rod from 6 Gill. This is by far my favorite jerkbait rod that I've ever thrown. It's got a short little handle on here. They make it in several different sizes, whether you like a 7-footer, a 6'6", medium action, medium heavy, they got it. Has a great fast tip, but a lot of parabolic bend in it as well, which is, it's a unique rod. It keeps them pinned, but it has a lot of backbone and power to keep that jerkbait moving properly and get those big fish in the boat. So check out that rod if you're in the market for a jerkbait rod. That Hemdahl 6 Gill jerkbait rod is by far one of my favorites. I'm also throwing a lot of my crankbaits on it right now, and so we'll just go right into that. Crankbaits. We're a little cold right now for them to be working really, really well, but am catching a few fish on it, and I've been catching fish on it all winter long. So always something you got to have on your deck when it's windy, when the bite slows down a little bit. You can pick this up, cover a little bit of water, and get a few bites on it. Great way to catch some big fish on this lake as well. So, you know, as the water warms up into the mid 40s, this is gonna be a really big player, and it's gonna start producing a lot of big stringers of fish. So keep an eye on that water temp as it's warming up. If you're in some, you know, water above 40 degrees, don't be afraid to throw it. We catch a lot of fish when it's really, really cold on this bait. So this right here is Tackle HD's new bait. It's a great little crankbait here. Dives down to about 8 to 14 feet, catches a ton of fish in a variety of patterns. We got a lot of crawdad patterns, but we've been catching them on that crankhead all year. So wiggle warts are gonna produce. This crankhead is a great bait for this cold water. Reel it slow, keep it on the bottom. It gets down there a little bit deeper than a wiggle wart, and has a nice little thump to it. So a little bit more subtle action than the wiggle wart. Works really good in cold water. I want to keep it to crawdad type patterns this time of year. This is kind of a translucent red. I like a brown and orange. Anything that resembles a crawdad is going to put some bites in the boat for you. Just make sure you reel it really slow. I got it on Bass Pro Shops, 12-pound fluorocarbon. I'm throwing the jerkbait on 10-pound fluorocarbon, and I'm throwing that A-rig, you know, either on 50 or 65-pound braid or 25-pound fluorocarbon from Bass Pro Shops. So you want to use big line on that A-rig, but everything else this time of year, we're using that 10 or 12-pound line, trying to be real subtle and sneak up on these fish, and that light line will help get you a few more bites. So we got this, we got a wiggle wart, we got a shad wrap. You know, flat-sided crankbaits work really good in the winter. So there's a handful of crankbaits that you can use this time of year, but this one right here has been a real producer for me. Again, I got it on the Hemdahl series rod. I've got a 7-0-to-1 gear ratio on this 6-gill reel right here, and I've got the same on my jerkbait as well. So 7-to-1 on those, pick up a little bit of line, and you know, this is a great cranking rod. So on this one, my jerkbait rod is a 6.6 medium. This one is a 7-foot medium heavy. I've done a little bit of experimenting. I found out that this jerkbait rod is actually a really good crankbait rod. Keeps them buttoned and has some good backbone for those bigger fish. So we've talked all about the swim baits, the jerk baits, the Alabama rig, you know, the crankbait. Let's talk about a jig. A jig is a staple here at Lake of the Ozarks, and anytime that you're in one of these Ozark lakes in the springtime. So jig's really producing a lot of bites, always will this time of year, and it'll continue to produce bites throughout the year for you. This is a great jig lake. So I'm gonna use something pretty small, something pretty finessey. So we're gonna use our Trophy Bass Company Pro Finesse jig. We're also gonna use our Trophy Bass Company Pro Jig. So here's the Pro Jig right here. On the Pro Jig, you can see I've kind of shortened my skirt up a little bit, make it nice and compact. You know, you can even give this a little bit of a finesse cut here. You know, I like to take it upside down like that, maybe trim some of those strands off the top there. So you've trimmed the bottom, or I'm sorry, the top layer off and left that bottom layer. Now I got a nice finesse cut right here. So that's kind of what we're looking at this time of year. I'm gonna use a 3/8 ounce when I'm fishing shallow. You wanna use a real light jig, you know, when you're fishing shallower. Slow fall with those fish, find that jig and bite it. So we're also fishing it out deep. So I'm gonna fish this around really rocky channel banks. I'm gonna fish it around brush. I'm gonna fish around visible cover like laydowns. I'll throw it behind docks. A lot of these fish are gonna be behind boat docks on steeper banks. And right here I got this Tackle HD Ned Warrior Craw. So it's small little crawdad, okay? And you just want a small profile crawdad. Here on my jig rod, I'm looking around, it's in my lap. Here on my jig rod, you can see that is just a little Zoom critter craw type trailer, just a little do nothing. So you want a trailer with not a ton of action. You want one that's small profile. something that just looks good in the water, that's real easy for these fish to eat. They're eating small crawdads. They don't want a big, bulky bait this time of year. They don't want to expend a lot of energy to eat it. They just want to suck in that small craw and go about their day. So what I'm going to do here, no matter what trailer you're using, I'm just going to trim it down a little bit, okay? So I'm just going to take a little 1/4 inch off the top there. I'm going to thread it up straight on here. And again, I'm using a pretty light line. I'm going to use 7 foot medium action, or I'm sorry, 7 foot medium heavy action Mayaka rod from 6 Gill. I'm going to use a little bit faster gear ratio reel. I'm going to use an 8:1 to 1, something that's going to take up a lot of line when I'm ready to set that hook and get that fish in the boat. So you can see I slid it up on my jig nice and straight. Okay, it's a nice, short, small, compact jig, easy to eat, and that's going to be about what I'm going to throw this time of year. I like black and blue. I like this green pumpkin orange. You know, I like anything that's just kind of natural. So for whatever reason, black and blue works really good in clear water, stained water, murky water, dirty water. It's my go-to #1 favorite all-time jig. So that's what I'm throwing most of the time, and I'll even put a green pumpkin trailer on it. But even in this really clear water, it seems to work really well. But this one right here, the Mayaka 7 footer, you can use a 7'6", just depending on the line size. You don't want to overpower the jig, but this 7 footer gets you, helps you skip it underneath the docks, get behind the cables and some of those hard to reach places this time of year. I got 14-pound Bass Pro Shops fluorocarbon line on here. You can go up to 20, but I would recommend as light a line as you can get away with. So those are the 4 baits that we're using right now on the lake to catch some fish. Look at those steeper banks. Look at anywhere the wind's been blowing. Check out some of these main lake and secondary points and put some of those baits in your hand and see if you can't put a few fish in the boat. The fishing's been, like I said, a little bit of up and down, but most days have been pretty decent. So it seems like morning bite, afternoon bite have been real good. So if you got a choice of time to go, I would go early and late, try to get on those fish when they're feeding a little bit. But you know, it's going to be a good month. You know, when this weather starts shaping up a little bit, starts stabilizing, these fish are really going to go into feed mode. They're going to be looking to spawn, and they're going to be feeding heavily before that spawn. So those 4 baits that I mentioned to you are going to be really, really productive this month and throughout March. So keep those in your hand, keep those ready in the boat. If you're looking for any of these baits, check out tacklehd.com. I know they got some of their plastics and jigs on sale right now, some really, really good prices. And tune in, because next week we're going to have another fishing report. I'm going to be doing a lot of traveling this year, fishing the FLW Pro Circuit, as well as the Toyota Series, which we got coming up here at Lake of the Ozarks in just about a week. So these big derbies are going to start kicking off, but I'm going to be kicking out these fishing reports as much as possible. I'm going to try to do 1 a week for you. There might be a few weeks when I'm out of town somewhere. I know we go to Florida right after this Toyota Series event here, but I'm going to try to keep you updated on what's going on here at the lake, what they're biting on, and how to catch them. So tune into my YouTube channel, Casey Scanlon Fishing, and be sure to like and subscribe, because we're going to be trying to put out a lot of content for you guys and help you learn the lake better and catch a few more fish. So stay tuned. Next week we'll have another fishing report, and good luck out there.